Welcome to the Retrospect podcast, a show where three guys come together from different walks of life and discuss a topic from their generation's perspective. My name is Ian, and this episode I'm going to start off a little bit differently. Today we're going to be discussing the tragic situation that happened with Madison Brooks here in Louisiana. For those of you who may not know, it was a very tragic event that happened. It is going to involve discussions about rape and sexual assault. So for those of you out there that may not want to listen to that sort of thing, continue at your own risk. Listener discretion advised. It's a bit of a heavy episode, but at the same time, we didn't want to stay silent about something that it happened very close to us and something that we have very strong opinions and feelings about. So that is what this episode is. Again, if you do not want to continue, I understand, and we here at Retrospect understand as well. And next week we will have a much lighter episode. But nevertheless, thank you so much for your continued support, and on with the episode. So I actually don't know a whole lot about this story. I'm going to go ahead and look up a few articles and just kind of read a little bit about this, but what do you guys know about it?
People are searching and listening and looking at it from all over the world.
A girl like that gets raped.
Well, at first they didn't realize all of that.
Right.
She was just ran over in the middle of the street.
Right.
And then all of a sudden the details come out that four people,
right,
not all four of them raped her, but two of them are called principals and two of them are active rapists,
right,
in this.
And they're alleging that it was consensual.
Right.
Even though she was, I think, according to the news, she was
Completely
like four
drunk.
times over the legal limit.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like
I
think they reported she was like a .3 something, 317 or some outrageous number.
Three of them were of age and one of them was a minor.
Yeah, that's a tragedy of epic proportions. I mean, there's so many things that went wrong with that from top to top down. I mean, it's just sometimes human beings are just act worse than animals.
Damn, that's heavy.
What are you looking at?
Oh, I'm just looking at like articles and stuff that were just talking about it. The thing is, I have a friend of mine who is like a showrunner and does a lot of stuff, all the big events and Reggie's is just across the street. And I forgot that this all happened over there. And it's like, oh, yikes. It just hits a little too close to home.
Well, that place has had a history of
many years.
For years. I mean, that goes back to when I
80s.
was. I mean, I remember that. I remember I'd heard the stories of the amount of underage drinking going on in that place.
So do they know who like actually ran over her? Like, is that at all spoken about?
Well, yeah, that issue has actually been resolved. I mean, the driver was not ticketed, if I recall
really?
right.
Okay.
No, because I mean, she ran out. I mean, she just wandered out in the middle of the road, and if that area of road, there's not a lot of light, if I recall, and he just got.
When it's some type of a driver.
Yeah, I mean the driver is driving down the road, and all of a sudden this.
No, I meant like not a taxi or Uber, but some type of a professional driver. Something I don't know.
I don't remember the. I know there's like multiple investigations going on with different agencies are involved with that, and I mean there's problems with the bar, serving. Serving her drinks and she's underage. There's the element that she was by herself. Obviously, her friends were not around. Now, whether she left her friends and she's kind of was on her own by choice,
right?
Or they left her. But I think the story was that she, she just kind of wandered away.
It was a ride share driver, so it was something like that. Yeah,
and then of course they she's not with these guys, and you probably think if she was in, not in it's such an intoxicated state, she probably doesn't ask these four guys. Now, I don't know if she knew them or not. I haven't.
From what I was told of the story, now this could be
maybe,
wrong,
I don't.
But supposedly that she was drunk and then they had taken her, or that she had went with them, or in some way they had raped her, and then they dropped her off like on the side of the road or in the road.
Well, one of them,
left.
Carver, one of the alleged suspects, I guess is what we have to say, even though we're not reporters. So,
Right.
said that he told investigators that he believed Brooks was too drunk to know what she was consenting to, and he hated it. Well, then why not stop it?
Yeah, exactly.
Why not stop it?
In a situation like that with young guys like this,
You can't go that direction.
no, I'm not. No, I'm
You gotta
not.
be
I know.
very careful.
I'm not. But that's what I'm saying. Is like, again, that is like men like
Yes.
this have no backbone.
Right.
They will not stand up for that
Well,
kind of
that's
shit.
part of the younger generations
I know.
today too.
I know.
hate to say
Well,
that.
That's part of my generation.
You got the peer pressure, and here you see your buddy. He's supposedly, here she is, a very pretty girl.
Right.
Probably a girl like that is not with those kind of guys normally. And here they are getting,
taking advantage
taking
of a
advantage
situation.
of a situation that normally, if she was sober, wouldn't see the light of day.
Right.
And they were like, the kind of their base instincts, I think, took over. And all of a sudden, I think as this whole event was unfolding, I think then they realized, I think we messed up, and I think they panicked, and so they basically dropped this girl off in front of, on a major thoroughfare, in front of, I think, a residential area. I don't think they just dropped her on the side of the road. I think she had indicated to drop her off at some entrance to a subdivision or something like that. I don't think she was just dropped off on this road just in the middle of nowhere. And then she got run over, probably trying to flag cars down for help because she didn't know where she was at that point.
Right.
And instead of, those guys actually ascertaining where she lives and bringing her to her place where she lived and dropped her off at her door where she can go inside, they didn't, because what happened, they panicked.
Right.
I guarantee you they panicked. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what happened. And they just wanted to get away from the situation as far as they could, and unfortunately this tragedy happened, and now you got a devastated family. I mean, this is a scar on LSU.
Yes.
I mean, LSU doesn't need this kind of news. I mean, considering the news that it's been in, the last year or so with all the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not good. And then now you've got, I believe, the NAACP has gotten involved. And now, I hate to say it, this is going to turn into it's going to turn into a racial thing. I can see it unfolding right now. I mean, just the way the dynamics are playing out. And it seemed like it's just going to be a lot of upset people all over the place with this. They're saying that supposedly, I read that the attorney saying there's video evidence basically refuting or saying that it was all consensual.
Right.
And but the question then comes in is, how can you even make an argument like that? When someone is so thoroughly intoxicated, if she's falling down on the ground and she can't hardly walk, I mean, how can you even bring that up? I don't know if I was an attorney could actually could make that argument. I mean, that to me is a little weak, but, I don't know. I mean, I imagine the defense in this is going to craft a defense and make the girl out to be, she was a willing participant, and now the dropping the person off, that could come in. I believe that's kind of a separate issue. But the initial, let me pick up this girl, and I see an opportunity here, and I took advantage of it, and now we are where we are. And this thing is really blown up, and it's
all over the news. It's the people in UK are following this.
Yeah. I mean, because this topic is huge when it comes to rape, date rape, this whole dynamic of men and women, and whether a girl gives consent, no is no and yes is yes, and all these issues. This is going to be, I hate to say it, this is going to be in the news a long time.
Yes.
Ian, are you picking up anything else over there on it?
I mean, nothing good, but 3 adult suspects accused of rape and related charges in the case of slain LSU student Madison Brooks have been released from Baton Rouge Jail, records show.
I believe they've all been bonded out.
Yes.
Kyvon Washington, the 18-year-old suspect,
not really big bonds either.
Charged with third-degree rape, posted $150,000 bond, and was released from Louisiana's East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office lockup on Thursday, records show.
I wonder who put that bond money up.
Let's see. Kaysen Carver, and who was 18, and 28-year-olds Everett Lee, both of whom were charged with being principal to third-degree rape, posted a combined $125,000 bond and were released on Tuesday. Lee is Washington's uncle, records show.
He's his uncle? How old is he?
Everett Lee is 28, and Kyvon Washington is 18.
28-year-old knew better than that.
It's crazy, because I'm 28. That's sickening. The second third-degree rape suspect is a 17-year-old whose identity has not been released.
Because he's a juvenile.
Yeah, is not due to court until February.
Well, one of the things that I don't know that very much about the law, but there are certain degrees of murder. There's certain degrees of rape.
Mm-hmm. And
I think they're going for third-degree rape on this, which means it may not have been an active physical controlling rape, right. An assault rape. It may just be having sex with someone who is incapacitated beyond belief to be able to say no, and it's still rape because they can't consent legally or say no.
Right. Yeah. So, I think that's third-degree rape.
I think that's what they're going for.
Yeah, third-degree rape.
And principal to third-degree rape, because 2 of them were driving,
basically
and watching
it. Yeah.
Right.
Watch this whole event unfold. Parents have got to be sick.
It says that she was struck by a car early in the hours of January 15. On Monday, investigators announced they had arrested the 4 males after 2 of them allegedly raped the intoxicated woman, while the other 2 were present inside the car before dropping her off shortly before she was struck. So, yeah, I think they just dumped her off somewhere, and then she got hit.
I don't know what you say to that.
The spokesperson told Fox News Digital that the person who struck Brooks is not facing any criminal charges, and added that the person was not impaired and contacted emergency personnel immediately upon the incident.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're not facing anything because that's just a tragedy.
Right. I mean, that was just a terrible accident.
But they're going to have to live with that for the rest of their life.
And now he's going to realize what led up to that. And
right.
Can you imagine? I can't even imagine what you go to sleep every night thinking about that. Yeah, that's going to be, I'll be very curious if they up the charges, because I think the pressure is going to be tremendous to go higher than third degree.
Oh, I think the pressure is going to be there, but whether they can
prove legally
that,
you can prove that in a court of law, I don't know. But I mean, right now I could tell every women's group out there these causes. I And they're going to start coming out the woodwork on this. It's going to be a lot of pressure on the district attorney on how they handle this.
Right. But you have to be able to prove it. And when you've got the driver of the car saying, yeah, well, maybe she was too impaired to say anything. Well, you've got that
right here.
Well,
there.
third degree, I think
right
is
there.
easy. And they're going to go with the easiest thing they can do to prove in court, because you go higher than that, you take the risk of
and see right
not
here,
being able to prove that.
This is something like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Is Carver drove the vehicle while Lee was sitting in the front seat, which I think were the two oldest people in the scenario, technically.
Yeah, one of the minors and somebody else was actually in the back seat.
Carver told the police that Washington and the minor suspect sat in the back seat with Brooks. According to the police documents, Carver told police that both Washington and the 17-year-old suspect asked Brooks multiple times if she wanted to have sex. The affidavit states he said she consented to Washington and the 17-year-old suspect, but added that he thought that the victim was drunker and her speech was slurred. So,
well, there you go.
Yeah, for real, that's messed up.
There you go.
It's crazy that you're the oldest two in the.
You have the 28-year-old should have put the foot
said
down
something.
and said, "We're doing nothing. We're bringing this girl back to wherever she wants us to bring her."
Well, he's the one who she asked for a ride, and he says, well, he didn't want to leave her there in an impaired state.
So maybe
so you're going to put her in
nobleman-
the car and then let something like that happen?
Right.
That's kind of suspect right there to me, right
Exactly.
there. That's sketchy.
Yeah.
Here you're going to be a gentleman here and make sure she gets home safe, but then allow something like this to go on? Come on. There's no girl that wants to have sex with multiple people in a car
Right.
like that.
Yeah,
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. We can do better than that.
Well, that's when we we all have to make moral decisions every day.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys let a dark side of them take over, and now they've ruined their lives. All four of them.
And
their lives
had hers
ruined.
taken away.
And that's what I'm saying.
And then ruined the life of the driver.
Right.
That had completely nothing to do with this, has to live with this for the rest of their life.
Exactly.
And
Tragedies
then the parents,
all around.
About the parents, and I don't know if she had any siblings, but family members, teachers, everybody is impacted on this.
Yeah.
Everybody. Because a couple of people couldn't make a good decision.
I believe her funeral's Friday.
I just can't stand situations like this whenever I feel like there should, and this is hard because I know that it's not all scenarios are black and white, but I feel like with certain scenarios like this, I just feel like there should be the judicial system should do something differently in this scenario.
As far how do you mean?
It makes me sick that these people are walking around right now. That shouldn't be the case.
Yes. And did you see the penance, the trifling little bail that they put on these guys, like $25,000 or $50,000?
I wonder who the judge was.
Supposedly,
because you know how the bail works, right? If you get a $10,000 bail, you only got to put $1,000 down. You only have to put 10% collateral down for that, and you're basically getting a loan from a bail bondsman that you'll lose your money or your collateral if you don't show up. So the top guy was $150,000, so somebody had to put $15,000 down. Really, that's nothing. That's nothing. So.
It's just messed up.
I'm telling you, this is going to be a big issue I'm afraid of where this is going. I really, just knowing what I know, this is not going to be a good ending.
Well, this is South Louisiana, and we're already in turmoil as it is now.
Yep. And
things like this don't help because the powers that be are going to be doing their thing, and the victim and their family is going to pay the price for this to be sensationalized and put all over the media and blasted all over media for somebody else's pocketbook.
Mm-hmm.
And this stinks. I mean, I just, it's unbelievable to me that this can happen.
my hope is that this event will be a warning for ladies out there.
Oh, yeah.
That while no one should be assaulted, you never put yourself in a position where you lose your faculties.
Mm-hmm.
Or if nothing else,
judgment gets impaired.
If nothing else, you go there with someone that you trust.
If
you're going to do something,
if you're going to do that, if you're just going to kind of lay it all out, look, I just want to get, I just want to get trashed tonight, and you better have someone there that's got your back.
Right.
Best intentions.
And unfortunately, this person, she was like that lone sheep out there, and the wolves started circling.
Messed up.
So I hope that this is a warning, and I'm sure that this has been a wake-up call.
Well, I believe the bar shut down. The bar has temporarily lost their license to operate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I believe the state alcohol shut them down.
Yeah, so
I wouldn't be surprised.
They're shut down. A couple of the other bars over the years have run into these same problems because right in that little area right there is college drinking area.
Yep.
There's a multitude of apartment complexes
right
in that area.
It's a big area for underage drinking.
And they don't monitor it. And they don't also...
Too much money being made.
That's right.
Too much money's being made.
When you have that type of money being made and you're not taking care of your patrons, this is ridiculous. When somebody gets drunk, it's the bartender's responsibility to stop it.
Yep. And the people that are serving the drinks need to recognize when patrons get to that point to stop serving them and to possibly offer, do you have somebody here to take care of you?
The hard part is, like, I hear that, but I have been down there and there are so many people down there. It's hard to keep tabs with situations like that. Whenever you get to a point where the crowd... Now, I'm not sure about Reggie's, but I have been to events where there are easily 300 to 400 people in a tent, like, listening to music. Mm-hmm. And as you have, like, 3 bartenders, like, there becomes a point where it's like... You're right, there's a lot of money involved, and they're willing to sweep things under the rug. But it's hard to keep a finger on the pulse of people like that when it's like, that's why I think a lot of underage drinking goes, unnoticed, because I think a lot of that kind of stuff is just forgetting about in the heat of the moment when they're just flying through stuff. I'm not saying this is the right thing. I'm just saying that I can understand. You're right. This is a wake up call where, like, we're going to be locking down.
I'm telling you, they just. Look. Back in the day when I was 18, you could legally drink.
Right.
And I did.
Yeah.
Back then. But it's 21 now, and it's been 21 for a long time.
Right.
And I do believe the practice of allowing anyone under the age of 21 on these establishments, I think you're playing with fire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I really do. There's a lot of people that go through there. But if you're going to assume this responsibility for people because mm-hmm. you've decided to do this for a living. This mm-hmm. is your bar. This is your money. This is how you make your money.
Right.
This is your lifestyle. You have a responsibility to the people that come to your establishment to be protected, mm-hmm. to be cared for and looked after, and not just take their money. So if you need to put extra staff on, put extra staff on. Yep. If you need to put extra bartenders and servers and helpers, do it.
The hard thing is, like, a lot of those places down there work with, you can't get in unless your identification is verified. So right. Like, a lot of times you'll get stopped at the door, show your identification, and you'll have some sort of mark, showing that you are of age. So that way the bartender, again, doesn't have to worry about the messiness mm-hmm. of trying to ask for identification with, like, a crowd of 20, 30 more people waiting for drinks.
You never had a fake ID?
No, I know, because I never drank until I was 20.
There.
I know, I know, and that's and I'm not even saying that. I'm not even saying that. I'm talking about the fact that, like, there are people like that. Like, she attended LSU.
Right.
She had friends on LSU that were able to waive things and get her in. Can almost guarantee it because I've seen it before. Mm-hmm. I'm not being devil's advocate and trying to say this is okay. I'm just saying that, like, there are
things in place technically that aren't good enough.
Right. No,
That's
I agree.
so what I'm saying is like
100%.
again. So as a person that is a bartender that is trying to do a job here, it's like I hear, and these are also college kids that probably don't care in the grand scheme of things. It's like I hear what you're saying, but it's also like there has to be like a fundamental change that I just don't think is going to happen.
I agree. Do you agree?
Well,
with that?
in South Louisiana, we have such an accepting party type culture.
Yes.
So alcohol is such a staple
Right.
here, whereas in other parts, I believe, of the country where alcohol is just viewed a little differently. Not that people don't drink as hard or they get drunk and because they do, but here it's such a part of everything that we do.
I think it's part of the college culture across the country, but in Louisiana, because of the way our culture is,
right,
it may be a little bit more prevalent, but it's really nationwide. College kids get drunk. That's just what they do. They get out of mom and dad's house. One of the first things they want to do is go smoke a cigarette, smoke a joint,
right,
and have a drink.
Yep.
It's just what they want to do.
Yeah, it's the forbidden fruit.
And experiment with a lot of things, including sex.
Yep.
So, I don't know. Boy, I feel really bad for the parents and everybody involved. I feel bad for the parents of the boys because now they're going to have to figure this out and legally, deal with this.
That's what I'm saying. Their lives are ruined.
For me, and I have to be careful, there is a certain level of, I have zero tolerance when it comes to shit like that. Hands down. When it comes to like a drunk woman in some capacity and the youngest person in the car is 17 years old, you know better.
Oh, absolutely.
And I have anything involving rape or sexual assault and that kind of stuff is like, it's people and it's men like that, boys like that.
They're boys. They're not men.
That give men as a whole, I think, a bad name. And it pisses me off because it's like that's not right in any capacity, and it's like it makes me sick. So I feel for the parents a little bit, but I have no sympathy for all four of the boys.
I agree with that. I just meant the parents as far as now they have to deal with these bad decisions.
Right.
As a parent, you take on the decisions of your children for a while. And I didn't mean that I felt bad for the boys.
Yeah, right.
Not at all. They need to get everything coming to them. But the parent now, they have to live with this.
Mm-hmm.
And one bad decision can cripple a family.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as I said, looking at these four guys, you don't know what background they came from.
Mm-mm.
So,
they may not have families.
As much exactly, all three of us, we think a certain way because we were all raised with values, and there's just certain things you do and you don't do, and treating people with respect and kindness, and just doing the right thing. I would be very curious the background of these boys. Now, the three of them, the 28-year-old, I really, that's the one that I'm.
That's a hard.
I'm sorry.
Really,
that's the one that needs to be taken out behind the woodshed and get the shit beat out of it.
Exactly. I mean, that to me.
You're driving the car, pull it over, and say, stop.
Not even. I think the other guy, Carver, was driving the car.
I thought that's what I'm talking about. Wasn't Carver the one driving?
I think Lee is the
oldest.
oldest.
I'm sorry.
Lee was in the passenger seat, though.
Right. Either way.
Even worse, because at that point, you're not focusing on the road. You could, at every step of the way, you could have stopped the process and chosen not to.
Or told the driver, stop the car.
Right.
That saved the girl.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. For me, it's like I said, it's hard because I am a mere month or month and a half away from being 29. So it's like that person is everywhere. If I think of it in my own perspective, this person has lived as much of a life as I have. And at no point, if I have friends, no matter how good of friends they were, I would never allow a situation like that to happen.
But think about that. He's 28 years old, riding around with a minor and some. What life has he lived? He's not done anything. He hasn't experienced anything to be able to stand up. He hasn't found his values. He hasn't found out what makes a man a man. He hasn't found a set of balls to be able to stand up to people and say, that's wrong. We're stopping this. I guarantee you, Ian, I know you since you was born. If you saw that, you're going to lose everything to stop something like that. You will put your life on the line and stop it.
Right.
Tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong.
I know you, Jason. I know you. I know your heart. And I wonder if y'all know me well enough to know what I would do in that situation.
That's what I'm saying. It goes back. That's what I'm saying. All three of us were raised with a value set. That there's just some things that you just don't do. There's certain lines you don't cross. But there, unfortunately, a lot of people, and as I said, just kind of looking at the photos of what sort of upbringing these kids had. No, it doesn't excuse their behavior, but I hate to say this, but if you're raised like an animal, you are an animal.
But it's for me, it's deeper than that. I couldn't see this, allow it to happen, and go home to beautiful Miranda and look her in her eyes, knowing that I allowed something like this to happen. Then what do you think she's going to do if she found out that I let something like this happen? Does she lose all respect for me?
She probably will.
So we have come to a place in our society that no one cares.
Exactly.
No one has respect for human life. What can I do now? We're part of Ian, we've called it many, many times, the cancel culture. And what's in it for me today? What can I get today?
That, to me, brings up a very interesting point, kind of the nature of human beings as we observe tragedies. How many times have I seen fights or whatever break out where one person is ganged up on by a group of people and are savagely beaten, and there are people filming it and allowing it to happen and will not intervene to save that person? It happens all the time.
Right, it does.
And that's what I'm saying. In this particular case, somebody saw this girl in this inebriated state.
50%
and they
of them
didn't do anything
nothing.
about it.
50% of that group didn't do anything.
Didn't do
Nothing.
anything. I mean, it's just...
And the other 50% did something so deplorable it's hard to talk about.
So half and half.
People are so in their lane now because we've just gotten to a point now where I don't want to dip my foot in another lane because I've just had bad experiences. While well-meaning, it just ended bad for me. And we've just gotten to the point now where we're so absorbed in our own thing that we can't see the tragedies on the side of us. Don't do anything because, you don't want to cause any problems. And unfortunately, there's a tragedy happen because of this.
We are a generational show. I'm a boomer. We have the X generation and we have the millennial. But sitting here talking to both of you guys still gives me hope because even though we come from three different generations, we all stand on simple, honorable principles in life. And when you look at that in other subjects that we've discussed on this podcast, we've taken different stances. We've had different stances, but we talk about a tragedy and how it's going to affect a multitude of people. And the three of us stand on the same principles. To me, that is amazing. I hate the tragedy, but I believe that we all can stand on this together. And it gives me a little bit of hope. What do you think about that? Since
I think it's true.
I
think it's true.
We're all human beings.
We are.
Yeah.
We're all human beings, and
Under
no one,
the human condition. You
Right.
ever heard that
You-
expression before? The human condition.
there's a dark side to each of
Sure,
us. There's
absolutely.
there's a light side to us. There's good and bad, and I firmly believe that every day we battle that.
Yes.
Do we go and let our dark side take over, or do we let the light shine through and do the right things, and sometimes with a lot of courage, even though we may feel uncomfortable doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a topic like this, it's, if you're not united in that, then something's wrong. There's a wire disconnected somewhere.
There recently, over the handful of years, I've been nervous to talk about it because it's like, I don't want it to be real. I just feel like people are losing a sense of morality. People don't believe there's good and bad. They just live their life like it's some sort of Wild West, or they're good and bad. Their morality is just arbitrary, and doesn't. I don't know. The reason I say that is because I have met numerous people that, talking to them, being raised differently, and feeling like we all sit here, and you keep bringing up the fact that we all have these morals, or we all have these these upbringings, and it's like, that is not an upbringing that has been around in the past probably 10 years is what it feels like, or even 20 years for that matter. So there's been a lot of people that I've talked to that the more they talk about the way they view things or the way they see morality is just so far from what I feel like I would look at it as. And I just feel like it's just a sidestep away from doing something like this, where it's like, I wouldn't be surprised if all four of them have no real true sense of morality, or good or bad or right or wrong. I wouldn't be surprised if none of them felt guilty or wrong for the things that they did. I could be speaking for them, and I should not, but I find it hard to believe that somebody, I read the article, one of them said, and it made them feel sick or made them feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
That is that twinge, that sense of morality that, again, I think is supposed to root us in the fact this is something wrong and I shouldn't be doing this.
Right.
And it's like, but you all chose to just forget about it because it just feels like that's the culture nowadays. Mm-hmm. That is just the life that we live of you just, I don't know. And it makes me just upset more and more thinking about it, because it's like, it doesn't feel like we're going in a positive direction. It just feels like the more and more society goes along just pretending everything's okay and sweeping things under the rug, and loses their sense of morality. It just makes me feel like we're just going to go to a place that does not.
I agree with you 100%. 100%. The boomer agrees with the millennial.
Here 100%.
We go.
Look at us.
It's easy, Ian, if you look at what do we respect versus what we respect in my time or Jason's time. Things have changed. What did we respect in my time? We respected the astronaut. We respected the doctor. We respected the policeman. At the time, you could almost kind of respect the politicians.
Right.
Okay, now we don't respect any of those people. We respected our parents. They knocked the poo-poo, and not poo-poo coffee, people, just the poo-poo out of us when we did something wrong. And now we don't respect the parents. And you can see how these kids treat. How many times have you watched a Dr. Phil episode with a kid on here who is so foul and ugly to their parents that there's nothing they can do, and there's no help for these parents? And it continues and it continues. And then these kids get out in the world, and now they've got no boundaries there either, no respect, no honor system, things that we have. And that's the tragedy, because they don't respect anything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it appears that I just had a news feed hit my phone. It said they one of the local news stations releasing video of them leaving the bar.
Okay.
And Reggie's the bar has come out with a new statement.
Oh, wow.
So
Is that something you can share? Or?
well, I'm just reading off
The bar that I was talking about, Fred's, has cameras all across the road that's adjacent to it, and they released all the footage to the police officers.
Okay.
They were just like,
Yeah,
so I wouldn't be surprised if that's probably some of the stuff that's been coming out.
I'm reading it straight off the news sites. You know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it says
though the definition of breaking news, right?
Yeah. Even though she entered the bar with false identification, she wasn't served, nor did she consume any drinks, at least during the last hour she was at Reggie's. Reggie's has voluntarily turned over all video surveillance footage to EBRSO and has fully cooperated with EBRSO investigators since they were first contacted and requested to assist on Saturday, January 15th. Also, Reggie's has reached out directly to LSU President Tate in response to his call for action and look forward to meeting with him and his team soon to work together to address the issues raised in his recent press release.
It'll be interesting to get her talks back then, if it was just alcohol or if it was something else.
I've been kind of following on Facebook some of the comments, and of course, some of the ladies have posted some very emotionally charged, comments on this, and I did
it all like, oh, man.
I did see an interesting dialogue with a guy, and this guy really put himself out there. But I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna read this to y'all. This was a comment that this particular individual said, but I think it speaks to kind of some of these issues that we talked about. It said here, an intoxicated person, unless they were unknowingly drugged, is always responsible for their diminished faculties and in some degree the consequences that follow. Legal culpability should not be the only point to discuss about sexual assault. Fathers should teach their daughters how not become unnecessarily vulnerable to assault, which includes the personal responsibility of not becoming unable to make sound, safety, and moral decisions. You never have to prosecute a crime that didn't happen or deal with the emotional scars. Beat me up for this if you like. I don't care. The truth hurts sometimes. So what do you think of that comment?
That's heavy.
Do you believe that
that's not the opinion of this podcast?
Correct. This is a comment that I'm reading off Facebook, off of one of the stories that
I feel like
this is just a comment that I'm reading verbatim.
I feel like there are comments that need to be heard after a situation like this, but I think is too soon to talk about in some regard.
Agree.
And I think that I hear what this person is saying. I don't feel like I 100% fully back what they're saying, but they're not 100% wrong either. That, like, again, you're right. If this person, and it goes back to what we were saying earlier, is if this person was not excessively drunk or had somebody with them that they trusted and felt safe with, we wouldn't be having the same discussion here.
And now, yeah.
I mean, so you're right. In so many words, we already kind of talked about that. Is like we can't have a crime that didn't happen. So it's like, but at the same time, like we're here though.
Right. I think I think what this guy is trying to say, and as I said, it's how you say something.
Yes.
I think the intent is meaning well, because this just kind of scrolling through. I mean, the guy condemns what happened.
Right.
And in these situations, I think there's lessons to be learned. Just like I mentioned earlier, I hope that people take notice, especially the young ladies at LSU that go out and realize that there are wolves out there, that the world is not a nice place. There is a lot of cruelty and a lot of people that are willing to take advantage of you if you provide them the opportunity.
And that's what that
Especially-
statement misses.
Right.
I agree. We make decisions every day, and you're responsible for them. Getting drunk does not absolve you of those decision, consequences. Taking a drug does not absolve you of those consequences to making those decisions. But that doesn't mean that it gives somebody else a free pass to do whatever they want because you've made this decision.
Right. I agree totally. It doesn't excuse the actions of the
somebody
wolves.
else, right?
It doesn't excuse the action of the wolves, but I do believe that we as individuals, and that could apply to any of us, regarding a whole host of issues that this world imposes upon us, that you do have to take some precautions to protect yourself.
Absolutely.
You do. I mean, and I think, unfortunately, that message, I hope, gets out there now because of this tragedy, that you have to realize there are people out there, especially
I would say
in those environments that are waiting for those kind of things to happen.
Especially in the city in which this takes place. It is not a great place to just roam around at night. What I'm saying is, like, there are... I don't know. It's messed up. It's messed up, and the fact that, like, again, like, a lot of times, the reason why I'm getting so flustered about this is because I feel like I need to hear this. I need to hear myself say this. Sometimes there are shootings and actions and stuff that happens that I push away and say, that happens over there. I'm over here, though.
But it did happen to you.
But no.
Didn't it happen down the street from you?
What I'm saying, the whole reason why I'm getting flustered about this is because it happened at my front doorstep.
Right.
A shooting happened right out that way. This situation happened with these scumbags, and it's like, man, the more you realize it, the more it's like, okay, maybe it isn't over there. Maybe it's right here, and like shit needs to get done about it.
We had one of my supervisors from my job was driving home, and there was a shooting, and they hit his car on accident and almost killed him. It was leg height. Luckily, it hit a beam in the door, which stopped the bullet, and it could have caused him damage or taken his life.
Right.
So this is everywhere. And as Jason said, there are wolves out there, and we have to protect ourselves and prepare ourselves for that. And sadly, hopefully, something from this incident will prepare people, and let's do a little self-control. Let's rein this back in a little bit. I'm sorry. I'm the boomer. I come from the personal responsibility generation, and these bars that are getting these kids drunk and underage, and I know you don't 100% see that, Ian, and I agree with you to a certain extent, but hear me out. They need to be held responsible.
You're right.
No, I agree.
The hard thing too is, like, even I'm not sure if because it looks like this happened on like a Sunday afternoon, Monday early morning, I think is what it said. I know for a fact that on the weekends there are sheriff's officers that sit on the curb out there. Mm-hmm. There are police officers riddled with that area around that. So it's like, it's crazy to think that, like, there are things that are probably slipping underneath the cracks, and most times it's okay. Or I say okay, quote unquote, like no one gets hurt is what I'm meaning. Like underage drinking probably happens, things happen, life happens or whatever, and like for the most part, everyone ends up going home safe at night.
Right.
But the one time it doesn't happen is when all of a sudden everything starts crumbling down around it, and it's like, man, maybe we should like really make some precautions here. And it's like, well, it seems like if you look at it on paper, there's a lot of precautions, but there's that one time. It takes one time for things to, like, for someone to get killed, and all of a sudden everyone's like, oh wow, like we should have been cracking down this before. But it's like, it takes a a lot of times, it just like it takes a death or a wedding for people to come together and see each other. It's the same thing. Is it takes a young 19-year-old girl losing her life to all of a sudden go like, oh wow, maybe we should make some change in this community. It's like, I feel like we should have been talking about that before, but
Right.
hey,
I'm also very familiar with that area, and it's my wish that the whole area would get raised.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a problem for a long time.
Yep.
Wow.
Heavy.
It's
and it's a shame because I want us to be all lighthearted, but unfortunately, life.
Well, you know what?
It's not always lighthearted.
And this podcast started in a fashion a year and a half ago of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
This, I believe, will be the episode coming up. I hope we agree on that. I know it's uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable for me. I can see Jason squirming a little bit. I can see Ian squirming over there. But that's kind of what this podcast is about. We're going to do some lighthearted stuff. And we said in our beginning trailer, and sometimes we're going to touch on some harder issues. And this is one of those harder issues.
Yep.
And I'm proud to know both of you. I'm proud to know that I'm sitting across from two men who would not allow something like that to happen and would take whatever you had to do to stop it. And I'm very proud of both of you.
It angers me. It just does because it's so unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
And if they just people would just have some respect and care about their fellow
Right.
man,
Absolutely.
fellow woman to just do the right thing. They should have looked at their girl and went, we need to help her. And I know that's pie in the sky, but in my world, I would have helped her. If I was that age, I would have helped her.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have taken advantage of her like that.
That's what I mean when I whenever we first kind of started talking about this, and I got really upset about the whole story. Learning more about it now, sitting here with you guys, is I have no sympathy for someone that takes advantage of a woman like that, because if I can open up a little bit and just be honest with you guys while we're sitting here talking, is that like I have lived my life being compared to other men that were shitty, like awful people. And so there is this, especially in my generation,
Right.
and you'll know, like, again, cancel culture is a big thing. But even the people that aren't in that camp, there are people that have been hurt by men like this that have a stigma against men
Mm-hmm.
as a whole, because a majority are probably like this.
Right.
And I'm here trying to live my life to the best of my ability and trying to be a good person, trying to be a good man for myself and for my community and for my friends. And so it hurts, I feel like, in the larger picture of things, because it's like two sides of the same coin. You probably shouldn't be hanging around in a spot like that where there's people like that around, because there are not good people that hang around
Wolves,
parts like that.
as Jason said.
Wolves. There
wolves
are
out there.
So it's like, so again, in one hand, you are looking for a good person in a wolf's den,
Mm-hmm.
possibly, or maybe you're not. But what I'm saying is, like, again,
Hoping for it.
hoping
for
for someone that's going to take care of you and bring you home in a pit of vipers, as opposed to like, so. But when, like, the whole reason I'm saying is like that when it comes, it's hard for me to forgive a person that would take advantage of a woman in this scenario. And I know, because of my morality and the way I believe, I should probably look at a person like that and forgive them for their actions. But that is something I have to work on regularly, because I can look at a person like that and say, I have no compassion for you. And I know that's wrong, at least in our sense of right and wrong. Over the course of my life, not only is it because of you and like the decisions that you made,
But people like you over the ages
and the
who've destroyed
majority
manhood.
is the thing is like is that it all of a sudden makes, and I know I'm probably first world problems, you know,
Mm-hmm.
playing My Heart Weeps for You on the smallest violin ever. But it's like, I have been in scenarios where like I come into a circumstance already at a disadvantage because
Right.
I am not trusted because I'm a man.
Actions,
Especially
because of people like you and your actions, you make it harder for us.
and I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not saying my whole life has been tragic by any means, but it's like, but I just wish people would see that.
Mm-hmm. No.
Don't judge everyone based on
I feel
these
you. I
buffoons.
get it. I've been living that life too. So is Jason.
It's hard. But anyways, that's just a thing. So for me, when it comes down to people and taking advantage of women or raping or sexual assault stuff, I'm like, I have no sympathy for you. You deserve everything that is coming to you. And I hope,
And more.
and that's the thing is that I get so, I've had friends of mine that have come out to me and have trusted and confided in me, that believe in me, that trust in me, that I'm their friend. And they have told me that like, I have been sexually assaulted. I have been raped. I have like, these things have happened to me. And I sit here with like boiling blood and rage. And I'm like, why haven't you said anything? And of course, I know there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of stuff because of relationships or culture or you name it. For me, it's like that is something that I don't know. I get really heated about on numerous occasions. And I've had to withdraw myself because I'm like, I can't make this decision for her. But it's like, but just know that I, as a friend of yours, care too much for you to see you just like allow that person to just walk around and live their life as if everything's okay whenever it's not. Mm-hmm. You did something that is so detestable that I can't imagine that you're just around here just pretending like life's okay, because you can't treat people like that.
Right.
I don't know. That's maybe just how my mom raised me. Is like, you should never treat a woman like that ever. That's
right.
just, it's awful.
Well, as I said, you know, once again, upbringing. You know,
Right.
I wonder what is the background of these four guys, and if they were raised in an environment where they had those things that we learned that they never learned or
chose not
to do, or I mean, this issue of you know, of how you're raised and can that be used as an excuse for certain behaviors? While we would say, I think all three of us would say no, because ultimately at the end of the day, you're responsible for your own actions.
Well, I'm not the best to have that conversation because I had to early on decide I wasn't going to be like my father. Mm-hmm. That's how I was raised, and I chose, nope, I'm not going to be like that. I didn't know what I wanted to be yet, but I knew what I didn't want to be, and I did not want to be like him. So we all have that decision-making capability in there. It's whether we choose to stand up and stand firm in what we are and who we are in our heart and say, I'm not doing that. I'm doing something else today.
The dark side won.
Yeah.
It's going to get even bigger. This thing is growing, so it's going to be around for a while.
Yeah.
I'd be very curious what changes happen.
It is hard to quantify and to put into words the dynamic emotions of your soul.
Right.
And I didn't say this, and I'm probably going to cut this out for the end of it, but like I said, I have had a woman in front of me that has claimed that she has been sexually assaulted, and I have known the man in question, and I've gotten to sit across from him and gone, I can't believe you sit here across from me, and you just can live your life as if everything's okay. And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm like, what do you think? It's people like you that make my life hard, or that have in the past made my life hard, because I am friends with you. I associate with you. I am lock in step with you. I trust you. And then you go off and do shit like this, makes me seem like a bad person now. And I'm like, and that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. It's like, you know better. You damn well know better. And you get to sit here and just pretend like you're okay with that, taking advantage of her, whenever you know that she has like been through a lot in her life with situations like that. I'm like, I can't be around you anymore. I can't in good graces put my name or anything that I associate with behind you anymore. because it's you and your group of friends that are allowed something to happen.
And now I know why he doesn't want me here when he edits this one. Because I'm sorry, Ian.
It's a failure of, as I said, fundamentally, we battle darkness in our lives, every single human being, and I'm a firm believer in that. I think all three of us share this backdrop. This world, there's a lot of evil. There's a lot of wolves out there, and you have to be aware of that. And I think that's where, unfortunately, this guy who made this quote and got lambasted for it, what he was trying to say is, you live in the jungle. You got to protect yourself.
Right.
You can't put yourself out there and think that everybody has noble intentions, because they don't.
Right.
They don't. It doesn't excuse behavior. It's terrible all the way around. But unfortunately, this is not the last time
I know
this is going to happen.
Right.
Some other person's going to experience this.
Yep.
And I hope that through this podcast, somebody's going to hear this and they're going to speak out.
If any of you out there are trying to find out, trying to send us topics or trying to reach out to us, you can find us on Facebook.com/retrospect pod, or you can reach out to us. We have a link tree /retrospect pod as well, where you can find all the different platforms that we're on. I think we actually just got posted on iHeartRadio,
so it's
a really,
Isn't that awesome?
Right. We finally got on there, and that is also, like I said, Linktree /retrospect pod. You can find all the different ways to get in contact with us, or different ways that you can listen to us. I know this was a heavy episode, and I was not expecting this, but just as a final word out there, like we've said probably numerous times in the episode, just be careful. A lot of decisions have to be made on both parties. And I know that's not easy to hear, but sometimes the truth hurts, like we heard earlier, even though we may not always agree or disagree with that kind of stuff. So just take care of yourself, make the right decisions, and of course, surround yourself with people that love and actually care about you. But anyways, until next week, thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.
Good night, and God bless.
You're the best. Peace.